Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and we've had a very busy past couple of weeks with the introduction of the iPhone 14s with the 14, 14 Pro, and Pro Max that I have here, along with new Apple Watches, iOS 16, and more. So I thought we'd update the news from before that point and talk about everything new this week. This is your news update for the week of September 19th, 2022. Now with iOS 16, there's a new copy and paste thing that shows up that really is prompting everyone and annoying everyone every time you copy and paste something from one area to another. So maybe you copy something from Safari that we have here, copy that. Let's see if we can paste it into the Craft app here. We'll just create a new document and we'll see if we get prompted for that. And this time we didn't, but typically every other time or often from different apps, you'll get prompted with a new pop-up that says, are you sure you want to allow this? According to Apple, this is not an expected behavior and they're actually getting to the bottom of it or looking into it. So maybe with a future update, they'll change this behavior, as it's fine if it prompts you once when you're going from app to app, but every single time or every other time can get quite annoying. I've already heard from a few of you that this has been an issue as well. Now, AirPods Pro, second generation, or AirPods Pro 2 as many call them, and Apple Watch Ultra should be available this week if you pre-ordered them. If you didn't though, you may have to wait some time. As we scroll down, you'll see that the Apple Watch Ultra is available, at least for delivery, on October 25th through November 1st. Now, it may be available in stores for some people, but you may have to wait quite some time. And the same is true with the second generation AirPods Pro, October 4th to the 11th. Again, you can check availability on 9/23 or this Friday in the store. But either way, it looks like they're pushed back, whether that be on Apple or Amazon. So I'm curious if you ordered them and when you're supposed to actually get them. Let me know in the comments below. Also, something worth noting, if you are picking up an Apple Watch Ultra, one of the things is if you don't pick up Apple Care with this, you may want to consider it, because if you damage it, the repair cost can be $500 or $499 without Apple Care. So apparently it's very expensive to repair. That's what Apple's charging. And since the watch itself is $800, you may want to consider Apple Care on that just because of that. Now, in a few years, when you maybe need to replace your battery on an iPhone 14, Apple is actually increasing the cost to replace that battery. If we scroll down here, you can see the estimate to replace the battery, and maybe we'll select iPhone 14. We'll select the Pro Max and we can get an estimate, and it says $99. With any of the iPhone 13 models, it's actually less expensive. So you can see here, it's $69. They've increased the price from $69 to $99. So just keep that in mind if you need to get your battery replaced, although many people just swap their phones by then. But in a few years, when it's time to replace the battery on the latest phones, it will cost you a little bit more this time around. Now, with the new iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, some users are reporting that the camera in a few third-party apps such as Snapchat, TikTok, and Instagram are actually causing the camera to shake excessively. Donglebook Pro shared this on Twitter, what it actually looks like, so let's take a look. And you can see the excessive shake in different apps here. When he was filming another YouTuber, Luke Miani, you can see what it looks like. Now, I haven't experienced this myself. If I go into Instagram, within the camera itself, it does not appear to be shaking. So this is a little hit or miss. If I move the phone around a lot, of course, it's going to shake a little bit, but I really haven't seen any issues myself. So no issues here. Even if we go into Reels, I'm not seeing the issue myself, but I'd be curious to know if you're having that issue. I haven't noticed excessive shake. I have noticed some of the HDR footage with video seems a little bit off. I recorded this the other day using this phone with the iPhone 14 unboxing, and some of the footage just looked a little bit off to me, or a little bit different. With regular footage, it was fine, but with HDR, it wasn't as good in my opinion. But we'll talk more about that in my review of the phone. Another bug people are experiencing with the latest phones is apparently their devices freezing after data transfers. According to a memo obtained by MacRumors, Apple is aware of this issue and working on it. So they've said, as a temporary fix, Apple advises customers to force restart their phone if it becomes unresponsive for more than 5 minutes. So that means volume up, volume down, press and hold the power sleep wake button, keep holding until it boots or reboots and starts up again. So that's something you could do to fix that issue. However, I don't know that I'd wait 5 minutes. I'd probably wait 30 seconds. And if it doesn't become responsive again, I'd probably reboot it at that point. Now, just like every week, many of you have asked me to continue adding deals and discounts that I've found on Apple products in the description. So I'll do that again this week. Of course, the AirPods Pro first generation always seem like they're on sale from Apple on Amazon, and I'll link those in the description, but I would probably hold off and wait since we already have the AirPods Pro second generation releasing this week. But I'll link all of the different deals and discounts I've found this week in the description below, so be sure to check those out. Right after Apple's Far Out event introducing the new iPhones, Apple actually showed the hole punch and pill design in their new support document about the always-on display. Oddly, they didn't mention the dynamic island or anything else, so maybe initially that's what it was supposed to look like, and then they came up with the dynamic island idea a little bit later. So you can see that on the support document. This was posted on MacRumors, and you can see what it looked like, and then they quickly fixed that to show the dynamic island as a whole. So that's something that was a little bit odd. Many people were sort of criticizing the overall look, and then they changed it. So that's kind of curious, as Apple does sometimes come up with ideas last minute and then update them. So I'm glad they went the dynamic island route. However, the hole punch and pill sort of look was okay with me, but I like what they've done with this. Now, some developers have actually taken the dynamic island and done some pretty fun things with them. So I wanted to share that with you, as there's a couple apps where people have come up with this idea where you can sort of make it a Pong type game where you can tap play. Let's hit continue. You'll see if we hit play here, we can actually hit the dynamic island. That's the name of this game. It hits the dynamic island at the top, sort of a Pong type game, and they've had some fun with this. Additionally, you can see an app called Apollo, and it has something clever here as well called Pixel Pal. So you can see Pixel Pal puts a little animal or Pixel Pal above the dynamic island, and then you can select different ones. You do have to have different levels of subscription for different animals, but the cat is free, it looks like, and it's at the top. It sort of falls asleep at the top on the top of the dynamic island. So if you want to switch to maybe dog, you could do that. Switch to hedgehog, then you'll need to actually upgrade to Apollo Ultra. But you'll see the dog at the top just sitting on the dynamic island. I thought that's clever, and hopefully we see some more apps take advantage of that. I think that's a great thing. One of the great new features with iOS 16 is the option to use passkey technology. That's something that just allows you to sign in biometrically using Face ID or Touch ID instead of having to remember a password. More apps and websites are starting to use this. I showed that it worked on Best Buy, but also eBay, Kayak, as far as the app goes, Card Pointers, and WordPress all support this now. So now you can just log in using Face ID or Touch ID and not have to remember a password. So hopefully we see more and more apps adopt this. This is going to be carried across not only iPhone, but also Android as well, and Windows. So we'll see more of that on Mac and more, hopefully very, very soon. Now, if you use Spotify to stream on your Apple Watch and haven't updated to watchOS 9, you may want to hold off a little bit, as Spotify sent out emails warning users not to update until Apple implements a fix. The curious thing is they said Apple needs to implement a fix to fix the issue with Spotify, not that they need to fix it. So maybe with watchOS 9.1, we'll get a fix where that will work properly with streaming on Apple Watch. If you've already updated, unfortunately, you're out of luck. But if you haven't yet, you may want to hold off if that's a feature you use a lot with Spotify. This week, we may see iOS 16.1 Beta 2. We've had iOS 16.1 or iPadOS 16.1 for a few weeks now, and then Apple introduced it for the iPhone. So on the iPhone 14, it's available all the way back to all iOS 16 supported devices. We could have Beta 2 as soon as, well, today or tomorrow, or maybe Wednesday. If we don't see it this week, we'll definitely have it next week with Beta 2. iOS 16.1 is expected to launch in October with the release of iPadOS 16 and macOS Ventura. So I would expect a couple betas and then probably a launch in mid-October, unless they come up with something else, such as iOS 16.0.1 to get that out on the new iPads, as we're expecting a new Apple event in October. With that new Apple event, we expect iPads Pro with wireless charging. So we would have a 12.9-inch iPad Pro that would have a wireless charging capability on the back, maybe lay it on a pad, as some people have been predicting. However, the 11-inch model is still said not to be getting the mini LED display that the 12.9-inch has. So that's a bit unfortunate. Even though that display is super nice, you'll have to opt for the larger size. Also, we're expecting a new 10-inch iPad, the base iPad, to look similar to this iPad Air. So maybe they'll get rid of the iPad Air or just make the Pro less expensive. I would like to see them simplify the lineup, but either way, we're expecting a 10-inch iPad to replace the current base level iPad. And as far as other leaks and rumors, well, there's not a ton this time around, but we're already hearing rumors about the iPhone 15. Ross Young, who's an analyst that looks at the displays themselves, says that Apple will add the dynamic island to all iPhone 15 models, but it will not have ProMotion or the always-on display on the lower-end models. He seems to know these things pretty spot on, and while we're about a year away or so from that release, typically Apple is working on products 3 years in advance. So it makes sense that they would already know sort of what displays to expect. That makes sense, although I would like to see Apple simplify everything and just make a couple options with all the features. But either way, I don't think we're going to see that again. With the new MacBook Air I have here, and also with the MacBook Pro 13-inch with the Touch Bar, Apple updated to M2 processors. However, we expect M2 Pro and Pro Max and maybe Ultra processors to be shown alongside new products at that October event as well. We're waiting for updated internals in the MacBook Pros. We don't expect a major redesign, but we do expect Apple to show off the Mac Pro finally. So whether that be an all-new processor, maybe an M2 Extreme, or something else, we could see that very soon. Also, apparently, Apple's already working on M3 processors. That makes sense. It takes years to get those ready. And the M3 is said to be using 3nm technology. We have 4nm technology in the iPhone 14 Pro lineup. So it makes sense that they're trying to make it smaller, more power efficient, and better thermally. So all of those things are expected in the next year or so, but we should see the M2 Pros very soon. And of course, we're all waiting to see the new Apple Reality headset with Reality OS and more, although that may not be shown until January or maybe March of 2023. So all of those things are up and coming. Of course, I'm enjoying using iOS 16, and we'll see new versions of that with new features very, very soon. Let me know your favorite feature of iOS 16, and are you holding off for maybe the iPhone 14 Plus since it isn't out yet, or are you just picking up one of the Pros this year or sticking with what you have? Again, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.